Every single night, a quiet conspiracy takes place inside your bedroom. The lights go out, the world falls silent, and you lay your head on the pillow. To the untrained eye, this is just the end of another exhausting day. A simple, biological necessity to survive the modern grind. But to the mystics, the ancient sages, and the modern pioneers of quantum biology, these final moments are not a period of closing down. They are a gateway opening up. Most people treat the last 5 minutes before sleep as a dumpster dueling ground for their anxieties. They scroll through catastrophic news, replay an awkward conversation from 3 years ago, or stress about a bill they cannot pay until next Tuesday. They do this casually, unaware that they are performing a highly potent, dark ritual. They are hypnotizing themselves into a loop of survival. What if I told you that the specific quality of awareness you hold in those fleeting moments before your eyelids become too heavy to lift doesn't just reflect your current life, it actively engineers the next 5 years of it. This is not about magic, and it is certainly not about basic, toxic, positive thinking. It is about an undeniable, hardwired biological and metaphysical mechanism. There is a precise twilight zone where your analytical mind drops its guard, and the deepest architecture of your reality becomes completely rewritable. If you learn how to step through this doorway with intent, your current limitations will begin to dissolve. But if you keep drifting into sleep on autopilot, you will continue to wake up as a prisoner of your yesterday. And the mechanism behind how this happens is far more real than you have been led to believe. To understand the immense gravity of these 5 minutes, we have to look past modern motivational fluff and examine how our biology interfaces with consciousness. Throughout the day, your brain operates primarily in what scientists call beta waves. This is the state of active alert, logical analysis, and quite frankly, survival-driven stress. In beta, your ego acts as a rigid, hyper-vigilant bodyguard. It filters every piece of incoming information, constantly telling you what is possible, what is impossible, who you are allowed to be, and why you can't change. It is defensive, cynical, and deeply rooted in your past conditioning. But as you lie in the dark and the world outside falls away, something beautiful happens within your neural architecture. Your brain waves naturally begin to slow down. They shift from the frantic pace of beta, pass briefly through the relaxed state of alpha, and right before you drop into the oblivion of deep sleep, they linger in a beautiful, fragile twilight known as the Theta state. This is not just a biological transition. It is a profound metaphysical suspension bridge. It is the exact crossroad where the physical mechanism of the brain touches the infinite field of human consciousness. In the mid-20th century, the mystic Neville Goddard called this the state akin to sleep. He did not have access to modern electroencephalographs, yet he understood the human psyche with terrifying, prophetic precision. He knew that in this specific twilight state, the critical, analytical bodyguard of the conscious mind falls asleep first, leaving its post. The logical filters that usually scream, "You can't afford this," or "You will never heal," are temporarily paralyzed. The gates to the subconscious are left wide open and completely unguarded for a brief, magical window of time. The fatal mistake most of us make is thinking that when we close our eyes and stop thinking actively, our mind goes blank. It doesn't. Your subconscious mind never sleeps, never rests, and never takes a night off. It is an uncritical, hyper-fertile soil that does not possess the capacity to argue, judge, or reject what it is given. It treats your final thoughts not as random worries, but as absolute, creative commands. French psychologist and pharmacist Émile Coué, famous for his pioneering work in autosuggestion in the early 1900s, discovered that the human subconscious is most malleable during this exact state of physical relaxation. He proved that when the body is immobilized, the imagination can be impressed without any intellectual friction. If you fall asleep feeling defeated, rejected, or overwhelmed, your subconscious accepts the internal state of defeat as a direct order for your future reality. It doesn't know you are just worrying. It believes you are choosing. During the 8 hours that follow, while you are completely unconscious, your brain chemistry organizes your neural pathways, your hormonal responses, and your subtle energy field to match that exact state of lack. Your cellular intelligence aligns itself with the frequency of survival rather than creation. You wake up the next morning, and by no coincidence at all, the external world obliges your inner expectations. You are literally marinating your future in your current miseries, day after day, turning a 5-minute habit into a 5-year destiny. Now, let us be very clear here, because this is the exact point where standard self-help culture utterly fails you. We have all heard the superficial advice popularized by modern spiritual trends. Just think positive thoughts before bed, visualize $1 million, or force yourself to repeat affirmations in the dark. Let's be honest with ourselves. It doesn't work, and it never has. In fact, forcing a happy thought over a heavy heart often backfires spectacularly, leaving you feeling more broken, frustrated, and isolated than you were before. In his groundbreaking work, Letting Go, Dr. David Hawkins beautifully mapped out the scale of human consciousness, explaining that suppressed emotions carry massive, undeniable energetic weight. If you had a terrible day, if your business is struggling, or if your heart is deeply broken, your body stores that compression. Lying in bed while forcing yourself to mechanically repeat affirmations like, "I am rich," "I am blissfully happy," creates a violent, exhausting internal friction. Your conscious mind knows it's a lie, and your nervous system completely rejects the words. Your subconscious mind does not respond to the words you say. It responds exclusively to what you actually feel to be true. When you force a superficial positive thought over a mountain of unaddressed anxiety, you are not erasing the anxiety. You are actually magnifying its power. You are telling your brain, "I am so terrified of my current reality that I must desperately pretend everything is okay." The underlying foundational frequency of that action is fear, and that very fear is what gets deeply stamped onto your subconscious right before you drift off. True esotericism is completely honest. It does not ask you to wear a delusion as a badge of honor. If your reality is heavy right now, you do not need to lie to yourself or construct elaborate, impossible fantasies in the dark. You don't need to visualize a lavish lifestyle if your mind is currently suffocating under the weight of an unpaid bill. When you try to force a reality that feels completely alien to your current state, your body flags it as a threat, sending jolts of cortisol through your system that keep you wired and anxious. Instead of toxic positivity, what you actually need is to master the profound art of emotional neutrality. You must learn how to decondition the body from the day's chaos, treating the bed not as a battleground for problem solving, but as a sanctuary of release. It is about understanding that you cannot solve a problem from the same level of consciousness that created it. Trying to fix your life while falling asleep is like trying to clean a window with a dirty cloth. You only succeed in smearing the grime deeper into the glass. Therefore, the first step to true transformation is allowing yourself to simply drop the heavy baggage at the foot of the bed before you dare to dream. You must give yourself permission to be a blank slate, even if only for 5 minutes. You are not ignoring your problems. You are simply declaring a temporary ceasefire. By stepping out of the cycle of reaction, you create a vacuum of stillness. And it is only within that sacred, unburdened stillness that a genuinely new reality can find the space to take root and grow. To understand how this nightly ritual compounds over half a decade, think of your consciousness as a great ship out at sea. During the day, you are actively steering, fighting the waves of external demands, emails, traffic, and social expectations. Your willpower is at the helm. But the moment you enter those final 5 minutes before sleep, you are letting go of the wheel. The specific direction your ship is pointing at the exact moment you release that wheel determines where your mind will drift all night long. If you spend those crucial minutes reviewing your flaws, calculating your debts, or scrolling through social media, which is literally an engine designed to trigger feelings of inadequacy, you are pointing your ship directly into a storm. You don't just leave the storm when you lose consciousness, you sail right into the center of it. You spend 8 hours navigating anxiety, resentment, and lack in your sleep. You wake up feeling spiritually exhausted and creatively drained, even if your physical body was asleep for a full 8 hours. Dr. Bruce Lipton, a cellular biologist and author of The Biology of Belief, proved that our cells change their function and expression based on the chemical signals sent by our brain. When you fall asleep under the influence of stress, your brain interprets the worry as an active threat, flooding your system with cortisol and adrenaline. Your body stays in a state of primitive cellular defense throughout the night. It cannot repair itself properly, it cannot regenerate lost vitality, and it certainly cannot tune into higher states of intuition or cosmic intelligence. When you spend your nights in cellular defense, your brain cannot engage in what neuroscientists call effective synaptic pruning, the process of clearing out old, useless thought patterns to make room for new insights. Instead, you reinforce the neural pathways of worry, making them stronger, wider, and more automatic for the next day. You are literally training your brain to become an expert at finding things to be stressed about. You wake up the next morning with your perception pre-filtered to notice only the obstacles, the slights, and the limitations of your life. Over a period of 5 years, this daily, subtle poisoning compounds with devastating mathematical certainty. It alters your baseline health, dampens your natural charisma, clouds your long-term decision-making, and subtly pushes you toward choices that keep you safely stuck in the exact same economic and emotional bracket. You find yourself trapped in a loop, attracting the same types of toxic relationships, facing the same financial ceilings, and experiencing the same creative blocks. You look back after half a decade and wonder why life feels like a repetitive rerun of a bad movie. The truth is uncomfortable, but liberating. It is because you allowed the script of your tomorrow to be written by the exhaustion of your yesterday. You became a passive victim of a cyclical loop, completely unaware that the wheel of your destiny was being turned every night in the dark. Your life didn't stall because of bad luck or an unforgiving universe. It stalled because you handed the keys of your subconscious to your anxieties every single night before you closed your eyes. So, how do we reclaim this sacred stolen territory? How do we use these 5 minutes to consciously curate the next 5 years of our existence? It requires a deliberate, elegant shift in how you close your day, a practice that must feel like a return to yourself, rather than another exhausting chore on your to-do list. It is an act of supreme self-respect, a boundary drawn between the noise of the world and the sovereignty of your soul. The first step is absolute digital demanifestation. The phone must be put away, out of sight and out of reach, at least 15 minutes before your head touches the pillow. Do not let the algorithms of Silicon Valley, designed specifically to capture your outrage and insecurity, dictate the final impression left upon your soul. When you look at a screen before bed, you are letting thousands of strangers inject their opinions, crises, and synthetic realities directly into your unguarded mind. You must clear the stage before the real show begins. Once you are lying in the dark, instead of trying to force complicated visualizations of things you don't yet believe you have, use the timeless wisdom of Eckhart Tolle from The Power of Now. Take a deep breath and bring your awareness entirely out of your head and into your physical body. Feel the weight of your limbs against the mattress. Feel the subtle, electric aliveness vibrating in the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet. Witness the breath without trying to alter its rhythm. This simple act of somatically anchoring yourself does something extraordinary to your neurobiology. It instantly pulls your energy out of the dead past and the uncreated future, grounding it in the only space where power exists, the present moment. It quietens the frantic beta waves, signaling to your nervous system that the danger is over and it is safe to drop the armor. You are no longer a person with a history or a mountain of problems. You are simply a conscious presence, detached and at peace. Once the mind is completely quiet, you introduce what Neville Goddard called the feeling of the wish fulfilled. But remember our golden rule. We avoid the trap of lying to ourselves. If you cannot yet feel wealthy, do not try to simulate wealth. Instead, tune into the universal, indisputable emotion of relief. Ask yourself a simple, elegant question. How would I feel right now if my life was operating in perfect, effortless harmony? You do not need a specific mental image. You only need the somatic sensation that accompanies the answer. It is the feeling of a long, deep exhale after a lifetime of holding your breath. It is the profound comfort of knowing that the storm has passed, the work is done, and everything has finally worked out in your favor. As your eyelids grow heavy and the world begins to fade, let your mind rest entirely on that single emotional frequency, whether you call it relief, peace, or gratitude. Repeat it like a gentle, rhythmic lullaby into the dark. By doing so, you hand a masterpiece blueprint to your subconscious mind, leaving it to work its quiet miracles while you rest in the deep. If you commit to this practice, the shift will not happen with a loud thunderclap. It will happen quietly, in increments you might not even notice at first. You will wake up on day 3 with a strange, unaccountable sense of clarity. On week 3, an unexpected insight will hit you during a mundane moment, or a strange synchronicity will bring the exact person or opportunity you needed into your life. By year 1, your external reality will have reshuffled itself to match the quiet dignity you cultivated in the dark. And 5 years from now, You will look back at the version of you listening to this right now, and you will realize that your entire life changed the moment you decided to claim ownership over your last 5 minutes. The doorway is waiting for you tonight. The bodyguard is getting ready to step down. The soil of your mind is waiting for the seed. What will you give it? Thank you for walking this distance with us today on Wisdom Path. If this perspective brought a moment of clarity to your day, consider supporting our journey. Subscribe to the channel, leave your deepest reflection in the comments below, and share this with a soul who needs to remember how powerful they truly are. Until next time, guard your awareness, trust the process, and sleep with intention.